Caracas, Venezuela, September 13th, 2025. On a humid Saturday morning in the Venezuelan capital, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino López stood before national television cameras with a firm, commanding presence. His message to the nation was clear: Venezuela must prepare itself for confrontation. The warning came amid escalating tensions in the Caribbean, where U.S. naval operations are being perceived by Caracas as a direct provocation and a possible precursor to deeper conflict. The atmosphere was tense. In the background of Padrino's address, the Bolivarian government faced growing pressure, militarily, diplomatically, and economically. Washington's deployment of warships in the Caribbean, officially described by the United States as part of an anti-drug operation, has been openly rejected by Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. To him, these maneuvers are not routine security efforts, but a hostile move that places the sovereignty of his country at risk. Against this backdrop, Padrino's call for mass mobilization carried both symbolic and practical weight. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino López opened his remarks with urgency. We are currently preparing, while they, the United States, are exerting pressure, conducting a brutal exercise of psychological operations. We are here in maximum preparation. His words, broadcast on Venezuelan state television, framed the U.S. presence not merely as a security concern, but as part of a wider campaign designed to weaken Venezuela from within. The statement underscored the government's long-standing narrative that Venezuela is the target of foreign aggression designed to destabilize its institutions and undermine its independence. In this framing, Washington's actions are more than naval maneuvers. They are psychological warfare, testing Caracas' resilience and unity. The defense chief's warning was accompanied by a call for action that resonated across the country's military and civilian spheres. The combatant corps have also trained in terms of the use of weapons. The combatant corps are also present, and of course the territorial units of the Bolivarian militia are deployed throughout the territory. In other words, there is a general mobilization throughout the territory. The people are going to the barracks, and the barracks are also surrendering to the people. This declaration painted a vivid picture, not just of professional soldiers preparing for potential confrontation, but of ordinary citizens being asked to take part in exercises and drills. The mobilization of the Bolivarian militia, a civilian reserve force, symbolized the government's strategy of turning national defense into a collective duty. Padrino's televised speech did not occur in isolation. Days earlier, President Nicolás Maduro had urged Venezuelans to present themselves at military barracks for training. He emphasized not only the importance of participation in drills, but also the acquisition of practical skills such as handling firearms. The president's message carried a mixture of defiance and resolve. The idea that Venezuela's sovereignty must be safeguarded not only by its armed forces, but also by its people. For Maduro, the U.S. naval buildup in the Caribbean is no coincidence. He has repeatedly denounced the mission as a direct threat to Venezuela's independence and a violation of regional peace. The framing of the U.S. deployment as a thinly disguised aggression has become central to his government's communications. It allows Caracas to rally its population under the banner of anti-imperialism, a theme deeply embedded in the rhetoric of the Bolivarian Revolution since its inception under Hugo Chavez. Behind the strong words lies a practical reality. Venezuela's military, though weakened in recent years by economic crisis and international sanctions, remains a central institution of power in the country. Padrino's insistence on maximum preparation was not simply rhetorical. Over the past several months, the government has quietly increased its focus on military readiness, ranging from live fire drills to the reinforcement of coastal defences. The inclusion of civilian militias in this mobilization campaign reflects a broader strategy. The Bolivarian militia, numbering in the hundreds of thousands on paper, is designed to act as both a deterrent and a symbol of unity. While questions remain about the effectiveness of these militias in modern warfare, their political and social value is undeniable. Their presence sends a message. The government is prepared to blur the lines between civilian and military roles in the name of defending the homeland. By labeling U.S. actions as psychological operations, Padrino sought to reframe the balance of power. While Washington may boast superior naval strength, Venezuela claims moral and defensive superiority. The assertion that the U.S. is waging a campaign of intimidation highlights the government's attempt to shift the battlefield into the realm of perception and narrative. In this sense, every military exercise, every television broadcast, and every speech becomes part of a larger information war. The defence minister's remarks resonated with audiences familiar with the government's long-standing warnings about external threats. Yet for critics, this framing risks escalating tensions unnecessarily, turning what might otherwise be manageable diplomatic friction into a spiral of hostility. The mobilization order carries consequences that extend beyond Venezuela's borders. Neighbouring countries are closely monitoring the situation, wary of being caught in the crossfire of a geopolitical confrontation. Latin America has seen its share of Cold War-era standoffs, and the spectre of another period of militarization in the Caribbean raises alarms across the hemisphere. For the United States, the deployment of warships has been justified as part of a crackdown on drug trafficking, a mission framed in apolitical terms. Yet in Venezuela, where relations with Washington have been adversarial for decades, this explanation is dismissed outright. The government in Caracas insists that drug enforcement is merely a pretext for exerting pressure on Maduro's administration. Padrino's speech also played into Venezuela's internal narrative of resilience and sovereignty. By urging citizens to go to the barracks, the government tapped into a sense of shared destiny. The imagery of people joining soldiers and barracks, surrendering to the people, seeks to project unity at a time when the country remains fractured by political and economic crises. To loyalists of the Bolivarian Revolution, the call to mobilize is both patriotic and historic. It echoes past struggles against perceived foreign domination and reinforces the government's self-portrayal as the defender of national dignity. For the opposition, however, such measures are seen as attempts to distract from internal failings, including shortages, inflation, and repression. As the situation unfolds, Venezuela finds itself at a crossroads. On one hand, the mobilization effort may succeed in consolidating internal unity and deterring external pressure. On the other hand, it risks deepening the cycle of confrontation with Washington, leaving little room for dialogue or compromise. Defense Minister Padrino's words reflect this duality, a mixture of determination and apprehension. His repeated emphasis on preparation underscores the seriousness with which the government views the threat. Yet the underlying message, that Venezuela must rely on its people as much as on its army, reveals both the government's ambition and its vulnerabilities. In the weeks ahead, the Caribbean is likely to remain a theatre of symbolic gestures and shows of strength. Whether this escalates into open confrontation will depend not only on decisions made in Caracas and Washington, but also on the broader regional and international community's ability to mediate tensions. For now, one message dominates Venezuelan state media: unity, readiness, and defiance. As Padrino López declared, the country is in maximum preparation, and with every citizen urged to step into the barracks, the boundary between soldier and civilian is being deliberately erased, transforming national defense into a collective endeavor